just gonna be double checking it's actually up and working. Alright, seems like the stream is actually up and working. Alright. Damn, seems like we're actually going to be able to go on time, fully on time. Wait.
What?
Seems like we're actually going to be able to go straight on time.
Yeah.
Alright. Yeah, probably gonna actually be a full lobby, so that's good. Yep. Right, so everybody's going to be running up now, and qualifying is set to begin in about a minute. Alright. Right, then just a little bit of loading left, and we're gonna see, obviously Q1, a pretty easy session to get through for most drivers. Gonna be seeing how many people actually keep it on track and who manages to spin out and crash out in Q1. Yesterday in the Tier 2 race, of course, that didn't happen, or with only one person crashing out, but everybody setting a time. It's gonna be interesting to see how this goes. Obviously, we're going to start off to see the tyres. There are many options to go for in terms of strategy at Bahrain. Obviously, medium hard is the recommended strategy, but you can also go for 2 stops without a problem. So it's interesting to see if somebody is going to go for mediums early, or if actually everyone just moves on softs and saves the mediums over Q2.
I mean, the logical reason I think would be just go out soft, you know, save the medium like you said, and then gives you a bit of a more of a oh my god, I can't think of the most simple word. It gives you more of a options. There you go.
Yeah.
Gives you more options into Q2 to decide your strategy.
Yep. However, the Q2 race, or the Tier 2 race that was yesterday, a couple of drivers actually tried to get through on the mediums, but nobody was able to get through on the softs. And as I say that, I can see that Noise has put on mediums, hasn't gone out on track yet, but seems like there will be some people actually trying out the mediums already in Q1.
As at the moment are the first two drivers on track, so there might be a bit of a slipstream here between these two for the first two laps.
Yep. So who's gonna be the first person to start their lap? Actually gonna be Bashi. So the two Haas drivers right next to each other at the beginning of the lap, as Paul also prepares a set of mediums. But here we go, Bashi preparing to start off his lap. And there they go, run down to turn 1. Pretty long straight break, about 120 meters before. Then obviously the first turn, which is pretty difficult.
Big lock up in Bashi G into turn 1, that's going to lose quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
His teammate behind dropped back, so it seems like his teammate opted for clean air instead of the slipstream. Even though in qualifying, you kind of have to get that gap correctly.
Yeah.
To be within enough time, within enough gap to the car in front to get the slipstream, but be far enough not
so the dirty air doesn't ruin sector 2.
To the left-hander, pretty easy to block up, as you can see Bashi blocks up. Great exit through here. DRS wide open into this to approach turn 11, right? Yeah, turn 10, then 11. Okay. So
and
pretty,
here we go.
You gotta get a good exit through here, keep it tight, then go out wide, turn 12, keep it tight through here, get a great exit, don't go out wide, and probably be pretty much the lap into the last corner, and just
it looks like a great lap. Interesting to see if it's going to be a 127, or if we're already going to start off by breaking the 127 barrier. Yesterday it took to Q2 until somebody broke through that, but here it happens instantly. 126.3.
Pretty nice lap.
As Ryan's gonna set a 2-second slow lap, but he is actually running out. They are actually running out of fuel so early.
So seems like Ryan went for.
As we're now trying to see multiple drivers crossing the line. However, most of them invalidated their own laps as well. Who have we got on an actual lap? Well, we've got Nate also on a set of softs. Also seems to be Bradley going to finish their lap, and it's going to be P3, and Michael finishing right behind him, P5.
That was a very good lap by SG. He could definitely have some improvement into there. So you see, turn 1, he had quite a bit of lock up. Then body is starting his lap.
Yep. We've also got Nate's finishing off his lap up into P3. Who have we got next? Well, AN currently going through sector 2 and a 1.5.6 through the second sector. Is faster pace than Nate, I would say, but let's just see. Just don't mess up the final corner. He did invalidate on his first lap,
body
he invalidate on the second one.
Pretty good lap here.
As AN crosses the line to go P2, as we're going to go through to Jericho, who's slowly preparing to start his lap, the Season 1 champion. about to start their lap. Probably expecting him to go pole from that, as we see Folly, the vice champion from last season, only 5th on his first time, about a second off from Bashi. That's interesting.
Then Body is at a pretty good lap. Purpose setter 1 and 2.
As extinct as Jericho is a little bit.
Ooh,
Oh, there's a
seems like he lost quite a lot of time in setter 3.
That is AN who had a spin, now going off the track to leave space to pole. We'll go back to Jericho here. Entering sector 2. It does say purple sector 1. Obviously that graphic does lie pretty often, but it's Jericho, so you can't be sure. As now into turn 10, no lock up, everything goes perfectly.
Yeah, I've raced up against Jericho in another league, and he's pretty quick, so I don't think that graphic is lying.
Yep. He's also the champion from the previous season, so obviously it's not that surprising to see him being fastest in Sector 2, actually braking below the 105. He does go wide and actually invalidates.
Yeah, but I believe he has enough fuel to start another lap. Seems like he loaded up quite a bit of fuel.
He hopefully does have enough fuel. I mean, I know he likes to drive quite a few laps in
I'm trying to see in his wheel if he has fuel. Seems like he is gonna go for another lap here.
Yep. As
he has
also
3 liters of fuel.
Yeah,
3.7 I believe, or something. I can't really see it on his
yeah,
wheel.
well, it's pretty usual for Jericho to load up with a lot of laps and just drive around through Q1.
Yeah, I kind of do the same. I like to load up quite a bit of fuel. Get some couple laps on my first stint, I guess. I kind of basically do a short stint in first qualifying, and then go for the my absolute hot lap. So it's a pretty good strategy. You know, gets you warmed up, gets you to see the handle of the car and grip before you kind of get your set. I mean, you can go very fast on these tires, and you don't have to use them again for the entire weekend.
Yep, as we have Cole crossing the line, goes P2. Still, nobody even getting close to that Bashi time. I mean, obviously it's pretty difficult to get up there. But Jericho have another lap, and this time doesn't mess up on the penultimate turn. And it looks to me like Bashi is gonna have to go down to the P2 spot in just a moment. As through the final turn now. Jericho, can it be a 125? Not yet, it's a 126.2. So only a tenth of a difference. As well, we look to see who else is doing laps at the moment. Rohan just began a lap, but it looks like they're going to be pitting. PSC gaining a little bit of time.
Flying Cookie seems like to be on a lap on the end of the lap. Let's see what the time is. It look like it's a good time though.
Yep.
Let's
see Flying Cookie across the line.
He
P14.
does improve into P14.
So right now out of the elimination zone. As we now also see both Noise, who is trying to get through Q1 on the mediums, and we've also got Hemi, who won the preseason race last week, beating Jericho and most of the drivers over here. So it's going to be interesting to see how his pace is on the lap. But let's go over. And what have we got? We've got Ryan currently on a lap down in P17. Needs to make this lap good to get through into Q2. Holding that gear 6 for a long time through the turn. And now going to the final corner. I didn't really catch if he's gaining or not, but he is on fresh softs. Goes a bit on the curb there on the inside, but he's going to come across the line, and it's going to be a 1 27.5, so he is up into P12. As we're now looking forward, we've got Bradley.
I must say this, P11 all the way to P4, they're all within 2/10 of a second.
Yeah, that just shows how close this grid
That
is.
is very close time. And it's only Q1.
It's only Q1. That's why I imagine it's going to probably be really difficult for Noise to actually get through on the mediums. Of course, yesterday in Tier 2, it was also really closely packed grid, and only one driver attempted to get through on mediums, barely even making it. But here we go, Foley 2/10 up through Sector 1, hoping to improve and get closer to that those top drivers. As we also are going to be having Noise finish off his lap, going P... Actually doesn't, they go to the pits, so yeah, just decides to go over to soft as Foley manages to invalidate right at the end of the lap. Ooh. Alright, so let's go through to Hemi, going through the later parts of Sector 2, and what's that time going to be? Will it be a 104 or still a 105? 105.5. Not the fastest time, but we're going to be seeing where he's going to go. Is it going to be P4? Is it going to be closer to Jericho? Across the final corner now. And it's going to be a 127.1, so actually P4. Bit surprising, as of course we know how fast Hemi can be. And an almost 8/10 of an advantage for Jericho. As we've got Walkerdinho improving by 2/10. And probably the only driver actively trying to set a lap right now, as most drivers are pitting to change tyres and go out one more time to try to actually get through. And Walkerdinho goes P5. Has got PSC leaving space to other drivers, and then Bradley, who is probably going into the pits, actually stays out, actually going to improve by 3/10. Christian, does he have enough fuel? Get back into the pits. Of course it is P16, and if he gets slowed down because he runs out of fuel, that could be a problem, because Bradley's still in the elimination zone at this point.
I mean, if he runs out of fuel quite in the last minute, I think if he reacts fast enough, he might be able to get back in the pits and go.
Yeah, but it might be close.
Yeah, we'll see.
As well, now
He does have a driver in front of him, so he will have a bit of dirty air.
Yeah. As we've also got the driver in front of him, of course, being Michael, who is, I would imagine,
Bradley
still trying to improve
He has
his lap
decided
time.
to back out of this lap.
Yep, Bradley. That is Bradley running out of fuel. Actually, you can see by how slow he accelerated, he is out of fuel.
Yeah, he is.
And it's now probably just going to be a race against the clock for him on if he's actually going to get into the pits
I think he will.
in time. I mean, he has to pit, switch tires, then get out and start another lap to stay safe,
Yeah,
which is a problem.
He'll have enough time, just a matter of if he can put a good lap.
Yeah. Might have to push too much on the out lap so he can't set the race lap that he would have wanted. As well, trying to see who else is actually actively on a lap at the moment, but it is a bit difficult. Of course, we've got Foley, who's still in Sector 1 now, 2/10 up through Sector 1. Also playing Cookie starting off their lap, hoping to get through into Q2 there.
Foley is currently on the lap. He's 2/10 up on his time in Sector 1. Goes a bit over that curve on the
Yep.
Sector 9 and unsettles him, so Definitely lost a bit of time there. We'll see what his set their 2 time is going to be though. Very nice
Yeah,
through here. Bit
close to the
careful on the
curve
exit out
there.
of there.
Has
You
to be
get in here,
careful
you're
through
going to
this
be in
corner.
time. It's
Doesn't go
3
too wide.
times through
Three
here with a
tenths.
purple set their 2.
So yeah, 3 tenths, and now just 1 corner to go. And what's that time going to be? It is a 127.1, so a bit closer to the usual position that Folly is, but just look at how he only gained 3 tenths over jumped up 7 positions. And the gap
That
from
just shows how
the fourth
that
to
just shows how
12th
close it
is
is.
3 tenths. As we've got Nate going through sector 2 here, needs a better time to get. He is 1 position from the drop zone, so needs to get out of there. Half a second
Everyone,
up.
I mean, all the way from P18 to P4, yeah. It's
1 second.
1 second.
And while Nate's now preparing to go across the line,
That
that
is
is
Ryan.
Ryan
Tired.
retiring. As Nate goes P10, but that is really interesting for him to retire
He has retired on
so
track.
early. I mean, he might get eliminated from this session. Usually you see drivers just DNFing because they know they're gonna make it, but that's the difference. He isn't so sure. That
was on
P14
track
spot
too,
looks
so.
a bit bad. As Plain Cookie
Plain
is
Cookie,
currently 1/10 up.
1/10 up. For the purpose of their 2, so they
As that is Noise setting a 127.1, goes up all the way into P5. Certainly a good lap, as we're going to have Plain Cookie now goes across the line. Only enough for staying in P17. As well, we've got Extinct. 2.5 tenths up through sector 2. Need to get through, needs to finish this lap, needs to get out of that drop zone. RK just been informed that the reason why Ryan retired was that he knew that he wouldn't make it to the light, and that is Extinct. Only enough for P16, so he is out in Q1, as is Bradley, as is Michael, who's stopped on track. And Liquid, only driver with a chance to get out here, as Michael actually gets disqualified for parking in a dangerous location, so that's going to be P20 for him. As now Liquid looking to get up and get out of the drop zone.
he cannot.
Cannot.
Now Plain Cookie. See, I think he's on a lap, but he is on low on ERS.
Yeah.
So
He needs to save 3.5 tenths to get out of the drop zone and get
he's out of
through.
fuel.
Out of
So
fuel.
there it is. That's Q1.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
That
unfortunate.
is it. So Ryan actually makes it.
Ryan actually barely making it, and that is so. I'm pretty sure that because he just decides to retire on track, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to race in Q2. I don't know exactly how it works. Ah.
He didn't crash. He didn't crash his car out, so he will be.
Ah, so okay, so if you're on the track and you haven't crashed out, then it's still fine. Yeah, because I remember that, like, if you just retire inside of the pit lane, you're fine. Aye. So that's interesting to see, and
Funny enough, Extinct body went 2 tenths faster on a lap that didn't count because he crossed the line before the time, so he would have made it to Q2. So unfortunate.
And also unfortunate for Michael, who disqualified. I mean, had he not disqualified, he would have been P19. So that is one position that he just loses due to just parking on track. That is unfortunate. As well, that's Q1 finished, as we're just waiting for Plain Cookie to get into the garage so we can move on, and here we go. So as Q1 finishes, Jericho and Bashi almost half a second ahead of everybody else, and then we've got the super tight grid. I mean, 6/10. Actually, no, half a second, and you go from 3rd down to 16th. So that is super unfortunate. And of course, the eliminated drivers are Extinct, Plain Cookie, Bradley, Liquid, and Michael. Right then, so here comes here comes the most interesting part. Who's going to try to get through on mediums? And is it even possible for drivers to get through on the mediums? Considering how tight the grid was.
I mean, it's gonna be hard, but depends on what other drivers choose to go on. If enough driver decides to go on the mediums, then you'll think you'll have an easier chance. But
yeah,
if I'm honest with you, from my experience here in Bahrain, I don't think starting on the mediums here in Bahrain isn't that much of an advantage, you know?
Yeah. I mean, in yesterday's race, the winning driver was the one who actually started on mediums down in P11.
Yeah, but the thing is, I saw it in the esport race too. Jordan Upmere started on the mediums, and he was incredibly, he was just losing weight to his time to the soft runners, because here in Bahrain, the soft tires are just insanely so
good.
much faster, and if you get caught behind a bit of traffic, that's just going to be losing your time.
Yep.
So unless you can qualify pretty good on Q3, then it might be worth it. But you kind of have a place in your hand, because if there's an early safety car, then your strategy is pretty much screwed.
Yeah. So basically,
not only is it a risk in qualifying, but you're also risking it in the race.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, however, like, if you are on softs and no safety car comes out, you pretty much have two options. You either have to go for the 2-stop, which is slower than just the medium to hard strategy, or you have to attempt to do a 1-stop on softs and mediums or softs and hards.
Soft to medium is the faster strategy around here. It's not hard to make it. I mean, you have to go maybe 1 or 2 longer on the softs,
technically it's not hard to make it, but if your name is Barenko and you're racing in tier 2, then it might be difficult, considering that yesterday I got a puncture on the final lap and dropped down like 40-50 seconds, but it is possible.
Well, you've got to have some good tire management.
Yeah, my tire management it was fine. I just was sliding a little bit too much, so pushing a little bit too hard.
It all depends. I've done a pretty soft medium here in Bahrain, pretty easy, but it just depends on the race, you know. It depends how much you gotta push and stuff. So it depends where you qualify too. Here in Bahrain, it's kind of overlooked where you qualify here in Bahrain. I mean, it's a pretty easy track to make up places, but due to the strategy, then it gets pretty hard if you have to push every single lap to make up places, you know?
Yeah. As we look on the track, as we're right now just looking at Walcadino's lap, I realize that it's pretty much split 50-50 of drivers going out on mediums and going out on softs. However, the thing is, there's also a difference between people starting out on mediums and ending up on mediums.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of drivers think that they have the pace to make it into Q2 on the mediums, and then quickly find out that they can't, and have basically kind of shortened down their qualifying.
Yeah, as we got,
you can see the banker lap
and Walcadino setting the first laps. Oh, as Folly spins on the mediums.
Oh, that is not
just
something
managed to
really
catch
want
that.
to do.
I'm trying to see. where you've got the soft runners as Nate goes P3, Ryan, who actually is able to drive. We're going to be seeing now rounding the final corner. And what is that lap going to be? It's going to be P4. So as we see Nate also spinning out, as he just managed to catch that while just scrolling around the drivers. And we're looking over as we've got Paul going through the final corner, the first medium runner to pass the lights. So that's going to be kind of a benchmark. Actually, just realizing it's a 136, so definitely wouldn't call that the benchmark. As the next driver to cross the line is Nightstar, and of course AN ahead of him, but I'm assuming AN is going into the pits, so we're gonna look at Nightstar here. Yep, a little bit of a spin on the exit, but crosses the line. It's a 128.3, so slower than the soft drivers.
He is going to start a lap on the soft tires, so he is opting for the softer tires. At the start of the race here, we're gonna go on board on the lap with him.
Yeah, call it.
Down
yeah,
into turn 1, brake at the 100-meter board. Careful with the braking, turn in the car, get great on the exit, straighten the car as much as you can. Very easy to have a back end gear step out. Now, here into turn 4, you want to go as much left to the track, trail brake, don't brake too much, keep the minimum speed, go right up to the line, don't go over the curves as it can really spin your car. Be careful here with the curves, very easy to spin. Here into turn 8, pretty nice exit through here. Now into this very tricky double left-hander of turn 9, very hard to lock up. Jericho manages to not lock up, very great on the exit. So far it's a very good lap. Now here into turn 11, want to go all the way to the right, keep the minimum speed. Great on the exit, don't go out too wide as you will lose time, get back in, keep a short line and then go out wide to keep the minimum speed and not scrub out too much time. Down into 4th, quick into 5th, great on the exit as he has a purple center too, so far it's a very good lap. Now here into the last corner, you can make or break a deal your lap, very good break, don't lock up, great on the exit and don't lose the back end of the car, and this is going to be a lap with Jericho. What is going to be the time? 126.3. He actually matched his time of Q1. Wow. Wait, no, he had a 26.2.8.
Yeah.
Yeah, 26.28.
Seems like he's a little bit slower than earlier. As we're trying to see.
You don't really want to push too much on your Q2 lap pass.
Yeah, you want to be careful on that. Because the tire wear makes a big difference in the race. Which is kind of surprising me why AN is still on track on 3-lap old softs. I mean, he's probably going to have to use another set of softs then.
Oh, he's definitely going to have to use another set of softs. That's 3 laps less than you can use. And here, the front left tire here in Bahrain just gets absolutely killed. So that front left gotta be screaming.
Yeah.
It might just be he's doing a bit of a stint here in Q2.
Yeah, a bit surprising because that's going to be another set of tires. Maybe he isn't really expecting himself to get into Q3. I mean, you can't say anything from the times. They're so close. Yeah, I mean the times are just like so close to one another, so it's a bit difficult to say.
So far, Rohan and Volkic have 2 laps on the mediums. It looks like Volkic is going to have another lap on the mediums. That's not what you want to do, you know.
Yeah.
You're basically taking out the only advantage of the medium is that they can go long.
However, I'm pretty sure like P7, P8, those are positions where you probably go to.
A bit of, oh, look at this, and Jericho's going to try to give a bit of slipstream, yeah.
Aye.
So he slowed down quite a lot on his in-lap to help okay here. But will it help him enough? And that is only 1 position.
That is one
He's
position, but that time is borderline comparable
that
with
is
the soft drivers.
yeah.
So, as we got Folly here going through Sector 3, also on the medium, so interesting to see if he will actually beat some of the soft runners, or if he will stay in the same group as all of the medium drivers. As across the line is P6, so actually, yeah, breaks through that split between the soft and medium drivers. And there we go. Now we've got Walkadinho out on mediums, which is a little bit surprising because I doubt you can beat your soft time, so I guess it's just like a more warm up on those tires. As who else have we got? We've got Nightstar on a lap on the softs. Of course, P12, so he needs to move over to the softs to ensure that he makes it into Q3. Same way I'm expecting Paul and Noise to also switch over to those tyres. As Nightstar gaining half a second through Sector 1. That just shows the difference of the tyres. As well. Through turn 9 and 10. I mean, the difference in lap times is quite huge, I would say.
I mean, it's not as close as it was in
Last
Q1,
year.
but that is due to a lot of drivers being on different strategies. You know, there's some on medium, some other on softs.
As Nightstar currently 1.2 seconds up through Sector 2, so this might be an even bigger improvement. I mean, currently looking at about P2, P3. And he's gonna cross the line.
1 second up on his time.
That is P2.
26.8. P2, right in front of his
teammate.
McLaren teammate.
As well, we've also got Bashi and PSC on the mediums. I mean, they're setting the first lap times, but it's gonna be interesting. Of course, Bashi was on pace with Jericho.
So looks like Bashi just waited until the end of qualifying, where the track is more gripped up with all the other drivers putting laps in. So
yeah, but I mean,
that's a very risky.
Yeah, that's pretty risky because probably not going to be able to get back into the pits and be able to set a lap on the softs, as that is Paul spinning into the wall on the exit of the final corner. Hopefully is going to be able to go into the pits, switch tyres and go again. And it's got Bashi now passing through there through the final corner. That's going to be a 127.3, so that is P6, and that is pretty high.
Yeah.
On the mediums, might actually be able to make it. I mean, doesn't have another choice.
He doesn't have a choice, so it's all up. It's all up to the other drivers here. So Bashi decides to go quite late in qualifying to try and.
As I always also see Hemi, who is this entire session just sat in the pits, also sending it out on one attempt on the medium. So that is interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very risky, strategy, but I mean, if you know you got the pace, and you know,
I mean, if anyone has the pace to make it through on the mediums, it's Jericho, Bashi, and Hemi. Those three drivers certainly have enough pace to do it. As Rohan,
as you can see on the time, Hemi is gonna have 1 lap and 1 lap only.
Yep. As Rohan almost gets stopped a little bit there by PSC. I mean, he is closing up to PSC a lot. PSC, who's, I'm assuming, just doing...
He is on a lap.
Yeah, he just... Yeah, that seems a little bit weird for him not to... PSC wasn't on a lap, his ERS was quite high. So pretty sure that wasn't an actual lap from him. Yeah, only now is he starting to use ERS, so that is Rohan's lap getting blocked. Hopefully he has enough time to... He's gonna go and try again, I mean he has to. Currently in the drop zone.
Lap,
yes, like PSC gonna start up now.
So Could be a reporting into the stewards by Roman.
Yeah. Of
Yeah.
course, I mean, there's no points in the championship to gain yet. However, there is penalty points that might be given out early as we got a
Definitely, yeah.
nice job going through.
You definitely don't
Sector.
want to start the season off with a penalty before the first race.
Yeah. As nice, I mean, gained over a second through Sector 2, so that's going to be interesting. Seems like we're going to have another driver go into the 126s as the
PSC
final
with,
corner. And it's going to be a
PSC
126.4, only 1/10 away from Jericho. Only 20 seconds to go. As we've got,
PSC had a purple Sector 1 on the mediums, so
yeah.
if the graphics are in line, this may well be a great lap.
Yeah, well, it's pretty interesting that stole the mediums as the session ends like that. So currently drivers still on the lap. We've got Cole, who just set a lap time in P3, beaten by their teammate. As next
So
one across the
far-
line is PSC,
so far,
has to make this lap good.
PSC is on a 28.
Yep, he needs
He's
to
got
get
to
this lap.
improve through here.
And well, it's going to be across the line. Only P13 as Vote Kick sets a time in P5, so Vote Kick is through. As now we're going to have Rohan next driver to cross the line, and that is going to be 7th place. As now we've got Hemi trying to get through on the mediums, one lap and one lap only, and it's going to be P8, which is enough for him to get through. As Folly has invalidated and is out.
No.
So the
Look at
runner-up
this.
of the Season 1 Championship manages to get knocked out in Q2 in the pre-season race, as now the only driver left on the grid is Paul. Is he going to knock out Bashi, who tried to make it through on the mediums? Is Bashi going to get punished for trying to get through on those medium tyres? Yes, he is.
Wow.
So the only driver actually able to make it through on the mediums is Hemi, as everybody else in the top 10 is on softs. Interestingly
Now-
enough, AN did set his
Now
fastest
this-
lap on those 3-lap old softs. That is
Now,
going
I
to be
must
interesting.
say, this does give Bashi kind of a strategic pole position. if I
Yeah,
must
it
say.
gives him a good opportunity.
As-
I mean,
He will have a free tire of choice
yep.
at the start of the race. Anyways, I'm going to take this time to get a drink of water.
Yep.
So I'll be right back.
So, Q2 ends up with Bashi in P11, Nate in P12, Folly P13, Ryan P14, and PSC all the way down in P15. As we've got Jericho, Noise, and Cole in the top 3. As I'm right after this going to try to invite one of the drivers, so we can have a little bit of a break during the start of the last qualifying session. So of course yesterday's race winner was starting in P11, and that is something to remember when looking at Bashi. As well, now only expecting sets of softs to be thrown out for the pole shootout itself. Alright then. So I guess we can probably just hide the tire graphics, since obviously nobody's going to get out on the mediums in this session. And well, Walkadini was the first driver to be out, as there is Cole and Jericho pretty close to one another, as Jericho is now let through. Interesting to see what he'll do. Right then. So this is going to be interesting. We've got two Mercedes 2 Alpines, 2 McLarens, 2 Aston Martins, and then 1 Williams and 1 Alfa Romeo in this session. As well, the first driver who's going to be starting off the lap is going to be Jericho.
Alright, well, I'm back.
Right. Yep, everyone out on soft, as expected, for a Q3 session, and the first driver to start up a lap will be Jericho.
Mr. Jericho opting out to go out in first and get a clean air run. And I must say, his teammate is on an out lap, but he won't be able to get slipstream. I don't think so.
Yeah, slipstream, something that I'm expecting to see from the McLaren guys right now, or seems like they're building a little bit more distance, so I'm not sure if it's gonna actually be that, but interesting to see. As Jericho going through sector 1, so what's the time we are looking at through there? So 127.9. Barely doesn't invalidate through the curbs there. And of course turn 9, turn 10, no problems at all.
It looks like I will only be with you on the commentating for qualifying.
Alright.
As, yeah. Wow,
Yep.
qualifying takes that long for qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, it's about an hour. Actually, even longer than the normal race takes, but alright then, let's see. Jericho around the final corner. Are we finally gonna start to see some 125 lap times? And well, the final corner, that is going to be a 126.0, so not yet. Not yet, as Cole next driver across the line. 127.4. Next up is going to be Nightstar. And it's going to be a 126.9 as Walkadinho passes through with 127.1. Next up is going to be Paul. Just barely makes it through into Q3 and goes P3.
So what do you think pole position will be the time? And who will get it?
I'm gonna stay loyal and I'm gonna say Jericho, because I just haven't seen enough from Hemi. I mean, Hemi pretty much only said 1 lap time in Q1 and 1 lap time in Q2, so we haven't seen a lot of action from him to know anything, but that's what it is.
Yeah, you're right. I think I will go with you. Jericho will get pole position with a 26.8. I will say
26.8.
20.
Yeah.
25.8. Sorry about that.
It's fine. Yeah, so yeah, I'm definitely expecting that we're gonna go below the 126s sooner or later, as we're gonna have Jericho going
My
to the pits.
prediction is that only 3 drivers will get into the only 2 drivers will get into the 125. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm pretty surprised by Cole. I was expecting like a lot higher. Seems like he must have made a mistake on his first lap, but just a 127.5 for him. However, I'm probably expecting Jericho and Hemi to be the 2 drivers who go into the 25s, and probably nobody else, as Hemi is going to be starting off his lap. Obviously, everyone going for 1 race lap and then going in. Nobody has invalidated yet, and that is Captain Blade getting kicked out of the party due to connection issues, so it seems that I'm on
still
my
here.
Oh wait, what? Yeah, no, it just told me that you got sent out due to connection failure.
Well, I'm still here.
Okay. So that must be a mistake. As we've got Hemi, this is interesting. AN is ahead of him in AI. Is AN actually going to get out in time to not block him on his lap. Seems actually giving him a slipstream, it seems. Yup. And not moving out of the way. Is AN on an actual lap? Yeah, there we go. AN moving out a little bit close there, but Hemi probably appreciating the slipstream as it's a 5.1 through the middle sector.
Slipstream as he did give him a better 30 air to turn 11, but
yeah,
you know, I guess he did give him a better slipstream before that, so you know, but if he wanted to give a better slipstream, he would have
pulled to the side as it's going to be a 126.5, 1 millisecond between Hemi and Noise. 1 millisecond. As yeah, this is certainly an interesting line through turn 1. Pretty sure Hemi didn't realize that you're actually not allowed to cut the track to get to the pits or the lights faster as he is doing currently. That is a little bit awkward.
He did this in Q1, I believe, too, see.
Yeah, I mean...
don't think you're allowed, and that's...
Yeah, you're not allowed...
penalty.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. That's mostly what was happening in France. Everybody just skipping the chicane and everyone skipping the entire turn 3 to turn 6. And the same thing happening here. Yeah, that is...
Yeah.
Certainly going to be interesting,
if I must say.
Yeah. Well then, the stewards certainly are going to have a look at that, as we've got drivers coming out of the pits now, of course, to set their final lap times. As AN, surprisingly, like, he has still stayed out on track on that one set of softs. I mean, pretty sure he only has one set left. One fresh set left, so yeah, that's him pushing that one to the max. As... just looking, Nightstar going to be the first person to start off the final lap time. There we go. So we can just look at the differences and how small they are, how small the margins are. Of course, there's a big difference between Jericho and everybody else, but 1 millisecond between Noise and Hemi, 16 milliseconds between Nightstar and AN. And then 5 milliseconds between Rohan and Walkadinho. Certainly a really close grid. As Nightstar, a marginal improvement through Sector 1. As well, now going through turn 9, turn 10. Well, it's looking certainly interesting. Of course, the first driver to pass the light on their tyres, AN, out of fuel. So, assuming that's going to be it for qualifying for them. As Nightstar managing, yep, 3 tenths up, looking currently to stay in P4, but with a better time. As well now around the final corners, that's going to be AN's qualifying over as he heads into the pits, knowing they don't have enough time for another lap time, and Nightstar goes P4, but it's a 26.7 compared to what it was.
Does have another chance to go for another lap.
Yeah, another lap if you got enough ERS. I mean, there is no reason not to go for it if you can.
Yeah.
As now Milos going through the final corner and goes from P10 all the way up into P4, as we're gonna have his teammates start up their lap. We're gonna check back on Jericho a little bit later to see if it's finally the 125 that we've been waiting for, as we've got Noise going through sector 2 here. and 3/10 up, so looking to close up as Cole is back 1 second faster and goes P2. However, seems like he will be beaten by his teammate in the pre-season session as Noise crosses the line. It's going to be a 126.3, goes into P2. As we're looking at who's next. Night Start improving marginally. So yeah, he is going for 2 laps, and of course
he is only half a tenth up on his time.
It's a marginal improvement, but it's still something.
It is going to be P4.
Actually, P4. Yeah, must have been a mistake. Must have been a mistake through the last sector for him to save.
Must have improved on the last turn.
Yeah. As well, let's go over to Jericho then. Just a marginal 0.04 of a second through sector 2.
Is going to be in front of him.
Yeah, they're pretty sure that is. Rohan in front of him was also going to be setting a lap time, but we're going to see him cross the line at the same time.
He's coming into the pits.
So here we go, Jericho. Right, is it going to be a 125? It is.
25.9.
By a margin of 9 milliseconds, it is. I've got Noise and Cole, both slower on the laps. I'm pretty sure the final person to set a lap time is going to be Hemi, 4/10 up through sector 2. Currently looking at that P2 spot, maybe even P1. Is this going to be Hemi finally showing up with his full potential to go P1? As across the final corner here, what's that time going to be? Will it be a 125? As I said, it's a 125.8, so he goes pole.
Wow. So I got one of my predictions correct.
Yep.
I got the other one wrong.
Me as well. Both underestimated Hemi. As well, yeah. Rohan going to be going into the pits after invalidating his lap, and Noise currently heading into the pits. So that is the qualifying session over, with Hemi on pole for the 2nd weekend in a row, and Jericho right behind, and Hemi of course having the advantage of the medium tyres. Since of course, if you remember that first session.
That is Q3, well that is qualifying for you guys, and my name is Captain Blade, and I'm sorry, but I kind of have to go as I have a league race of my own. It was fun being in here with you, Barrico, but I have to go. Well, good luck on the commentating for the race, and good luck to everyone else on the race who's racing. And I'll see you guys another time, maybe next Sunday. I'll be able to hop back into maybe qualifying, and if it's short qualifying, then I'll probably be able to do the full qualifying and race.
Right then, so let's go through the grid of final time. So Hemi in P1, Jericho just a 10th behind. Then we've got the 2 Alpine teammates on the 2nd row. Nightstar in P5, Milos in P4, and well, we've got 2 rows of teammates right next to each other as the Aston Martin drivers in P7 and P8. AN in P9, and finally Walkadinho down in P10. Alright. So well, just a race then. Just the most interesting part remaining. And just me left in the commentary booth. So I guess, well, both of the qualifying predictions were wrong. It's going to be interesting to see if my race prediction of Hemi actually getting the win will be right. As we're just waiting for the drivers to load in, and of course nobody readying up. Hopefully nobody readying up until the host is actually the first one to do so, as of course stated in the rules. And we're just waiting. So yeah, looks going to be interesting to see what P11 to P20 do, as they've got a lot of options. They can pick the tyres, and I'm expecting to see some yellow striped tyres instead of the softs that P2 down to P10 will be using, as we're still waiting. So I guess I can take this little time to get a drink. As the countdown finally beginning. And assuming that this stays the way it should, there's going to be a lot of variety on the tyres. And there we go. As the formation lap begins. So as expected, of course, we got Hemi on the mediums and then P2 all the way down to P10 on the softs. And everyone in the lower 10th on the mediums. Except Bradley and Michael, who put on softs. As Walkadinho manages to get disqualified this early. But yes, looking at the tyre strategies, there's obviously a lot of options. The easiest one to pull off, and probably one of the fastest, is medium hards, if you can do that. Alright then, so of course the medium hards, as I've said earlier. Soft medium, also a one-stop option, in case you can actually deal with the tyre wear and not get a puncture at the end, as happened yesterday. And then of course you've got soft, medium, soft, or soft, soft, medium, that you can just do in a two-stop strategy. Alright. So of course the grid slowly but surely making it up to the lights. And of course we're going to see as Milos and Paul managed to collide on the lap, both getting disqualified, and that's going to be pretty cold tyres for the start. As now we've got the drivers finally closing up on the grid. And Hemi being the driver... Oh no, wait, yeah, that's of course everyone who got disqualified, so obviously Hemi is first. And let's see, can it give us a good camera view for the start? This is obviously a mystery most of the time, as the game just hates to actually give you a good grid to look at. And somehow already lap 2, but there we go. Bashi for some reason getting put in P1. Here we go, we've got perfect camera view, and it is lights out and away we go. Cole with pretty weak start, already getting overtaken there by Nightstar. Jericho trying to get the slipstream going into turn 1 here, and Jericho is past. No collisions through turn 1. And space left. Jericho goes a little bit off track, but oh, Hemi has a snap and goes into the gravel, so that is going to be multiple positions lost there. As he drops down into P5, there's a collision with Rohan. Manages to keep the car going. Has a light tap with Milos. And continues to drop back, however, all safe. No crashes, no safety cars. As Walkadinho goes to overtake Rohan and is successful. AN looks to also make the same, as it seems that Nate is the only driver who managed to have a spin on the first lap. However, yeah, actually same with Ryan. And Jericho begins his lonely race up in P1, already broken a second to Nice Job, as Cole continues to get overtaken. Of course, those cold tyres might be the biggest difference. As well, we're trying to look, so Walkadinho trying to get an early overtake on Milos. Going to have the inside, have the outside for the corner. Little bit of space left, but it's all fair. Just hard racing. And Walkadinho has to stay behind. However, another chance coming up here is Rohan also joining into this fight. And we've got probably the worst camera view ever to see this fight, as Walkdino isn't actually fully managing to get through Milos. This battle is still continuing, and I'm still continuing to getting terrible camera shots when trying to use not the cockpit cam, and Milos manages to stay ahead, as that is AN spinning all the way down into all the way down into P18, with all the other drivers who have had spins. Yet again reminded of the pit stop strategy as well. Here we go, there's ghost yellow flag through sector 1. Obviously nobody's there, but the flag stays, as we're trying to see Jericho already broken 2 seconds, and Hemi kind of getting settled in, trying to push out Milos out of DRS. Milos obviously finding Walkadinho for P5 there, and Hemi could try to abuse that to push his competitor out of DRS there. As looking down, we've got Foley and Paul also racing one another, as Noise manages to break out of the DRS. Obviously, on a track like Bahrain, DRS trains are bound to happen, so if you can, you want to pull a second from your team, from your opponent behind you, as soon as possible. As we've got Paul passing Foley here. Yeah, it's Foley's going to look for that space on the inside, but it isn't enough, as AN goes to pit and speeds on the way to it. As we've got Bashi and Kole battling for P8. Yet again, pretty tight with the space. However, Kole lets Bashi through, which is probably the better choice, because going side by side through those corners isn't such a good idea. As Hemi is out of Nightstar's DRS, as multiple drivers actually out of each other's DRS. I'm going to be seeing Milos trying to make a move on Hemi. Hemi, of course, a slow driver here on the medium, so the strategy benefit from later might be detrimental, and they're going to go side by side through turn 11 and turn 12. But it seems as though Hemi has to give the position. And it is done. So let's go through so we can also see the telemetry, so see the ERS consumption, and Hemi gonna go for another go down the inside of Milos, goes a little bit wide. There is contact, hopefully no damage, but there is contact, and now Hemi is passed, and with the addition of DRS will completely break through. But here we go, Walkadinho going through Milos, and Bashi as well, but we're going to be having a beautiful fight there as Walkadinho, they're 4 drivers just in a box together battling for position. Rohan goes a bit too hard on the curb, I would say, and Walkadinho is the driver not getting DRS, so Hemi must have stole it by breaking just that a little bit earlier. As we got Kole getting back through on Bashi, and well, Rohan for some reason gets put a lap down, or not a lap down, but down in P12, and it's back. Aye. So, I guess looking at gained position here, Walkadinho pushing through the grid like butter from P10 all the way up into P5 already. As well, if we look further up, we've got, of course, Hemi, Nightstar and Noise can't use DRS from the driver ahead to help themselves, and Jericho even pushing an entire 3-second gap from Noise so early in the race. As Walkadinho, surely that is a warning, and Hemi manages to break into Nightstar's DRS. So could it be that already on lap 4 the pace difference is between the softs and the mediums is enough for Hemi to start closing up to these soft runners? As well, Bashi and Kole, they just continue on. And Bashi, of course, has the tyre disadvantage, however the strategy advantage by being on those mediums, and him being faster than Kole is worrying for Kole. As we're going to look further up, and Hemi standing close up to Nightstar, as we got Paul passing PSC, as yet again Rohan just gets put down in P20 for no reason at all. hopefully going to bounce back there in a moment, as there's yet again a ghost yellow flag through sector 1, so I do not know what is happening here. As PSC, a 5-second penalty for corner cutting, even though Foley was behind him the entire time. I'm pretty sure, so that is interesting to see. Has got Hemi right on the rear of Nightstar through sector 2, and Milos right on the rear of Walkadinho. Of course, Detia is kicking in, making this a lot worse, as that is the first victim of turn 12. I was wondering how long it was going to take until somebody has a spin over there, and it's happened. Now I've got Hemi with DRS, is just simply going to overtake Nightstar and move up into P3, and yep, he's through. And the McLaren teammates, oh, they bang wheels even. That is not the best thing to do as teammates, of course, but now the question is, will Nightstar won't be able to get back on Hemi here. And now it's interesting to see how this plays out. You've got the two McLarens right next to each other. And will there be a switch in positions as... Ooh. That is Walkadinho off, and I'm wondering, is that the curb that sent him away, or is that contact from Milos that sent him away? Well, the stewards are certainly going to have a look at that one, as Nightstar got DRS right now, but if he doesn't close up even further, that's going to be Nightstar out of DRS from Hemi, just a lap after overtaking. And of course that's going to be trouble, as Milos right behind has got DRS. As we're closing up to move into lap 7 here, there is a safety car. Due to actually what? What exactly? I'm not sure, but what I am sure is that multiple drivers going into the pits here. As Jericho puts on the hard tyres, so they're going to go for the more for the one stop, but the more conservative version, as we've got noise going on to mediums. I guess at that point we can pull up the tyres to see all that live in action. Bradley deciding to stay out on the softs, that is probably a really bad call. As then, well, there's a split here, so some drivers putting on mediums, which I'm assuming they're going for the 2-stop, and then some drivers going on the hards, going to the end. The question is, will the hards be good enough on pace for them to do so? As even Hemi decided to switch through on medium, so Hemi is going for the 2-stop, it seems. Well, I mean, he has to. He's 2 sets. This is his second set of mediums, so he still hasn't used the 2 different tyre compounds. And obviously, it would have been pretty early for him to go on to the hards. So Hemi probably expecting a second safety car, because not sure if medium softs is actually faster than hards, considering that you have to make a pit stop, as that is Milos crashing during the safety car, or spinning during the safety car. I'm not sure if that is damage. Gonna have to wait to see. Yeah, seems like there's no front wing damage, so he is fine. That is just some positions. As now everyone bunching up behind the safety car and behind Bashi. So it's interesting, most of the medium drivers deciding to pit, but some of them deciding to stay out, thinking that it's too early to pit onto the hards for 1-stop, and because definitely if they are going for the 2-stop, they would have pitted. This is definitely them attempting to do a 2-stop, as that is Foley spinning under the safety car. That is really unfortunate. Like, just as we look behind, we get to see that, and that is Grid getting bunched up here, and I don't know, like, what's going on here. If someone had to give back their positions late on. And now this is interesting, because Bradley decides to still stay out on the softs. I mean, the soft strategy, if you're going for the 1-stop on the softs, you're supposed to pit on halves, like the same way that Jericho's done. And if you go for the 2-stop, then you definitely need to have pit now. So that is pretty bad. I don't know what the strategy is, but it's certainly not looking that good from a strategy standpoint. Of course, well, got one more lap before the safety car comes in, I'm expecting. And 5-second penalties to PSC, Paul, and a drive-through for Liquid. However, I'm wondering why PSC even got his 5-second penalty, because it seems like... So, corner cutting gained 1 place. However, from what I saw, he stayed in his position, it seemed. So, really surprising to see that. As well, get to see the entirety of the grid bunched up. You need to be careful through turn 9, turn 10. Really easy to accidentally hit someone and get 5 seconds. As probably right about now we're going to be seeing that the safety car is coming in. Exactly. And now Bashi is going to have to prepare for this restart. And this is going to be really interesting. I mean, I'm pretty sure even for Bashi and PSC, this is the not pitting is the wrong call, because you need to think about the fact that on these like 6-7 laps that they've got left on the mediums, they need to go faster than Jericho on the hards if you're comparing yourself to them, as Bashi goes and PSC gets a little bit of a better run, but it's not enough, as we're going to have Noise looking to overtake Jericho on the restart. Is it going to be happening down into turn 1? Seems like no. However, Hemi overtaking Plain Cookie there, and Folly overtaking Milos, even though he has had that spin. However, Noise gets back at Jericho and is through. So Jericho down into P5 on the restart. Obviously, of course, he can just stay on these hards to the end, so that is the difference. And we are going to have to see how this evolves further. Walkadinho and Liquid switching back positions through the middle sectors. That is interesting to see. That is interesting gearbox management. And we can see a little bit of lagging there. As we are going to move up to Paul, who's pretty close to Plain Cookie, looking to make that overtake. As Bashi already out of PSC's DRS. Well, that is something. Well, let's look up, because there's still the top P3 to P6 really close to one another, and after DRS gets activated next lap, that's going to be interesting. Currently it's just a slipstream battle, as Hemi slowly gaining on Jericho. Will he try to go for a move? Not enough. There is contact but no wing damage. Luckily, as O'Bradley there tries to defend from Noise, isn't able to. I'm pretty sure those softs have dropped off at this point, as Jericho tries to get the slipstream on Bradley and going to go around the outside, but it doesn't work. And at the same time, Henny tries to get it on the inside. But yeah, and due to that inside pressure, Bradley gets distracted and Jericho is able to move past him, and now due to that, Henny is able to overtake him. So that is some teamwork, team play for these two to overtake Bradley, who I'm imagining is going to pit soon, because those tyres are not looking healthy. And well, now Noise just chasing down PSC, 7 lap fresher mediums, so he's got the advantage. However, the question is, how long is it going to take until the overtake is done? As Jericho and Hemi right behind, And Bradley has fallen out of DRS, so yeah, those softs have dropped off. And Noise just right on the rear of PSC here on the exit. And as DRS is available, we are going to have to wait until turn 3 to actually see DRS in action again. However, the slipstream is strong for all three of them. And Noise looking to already make the overtake here. And there we go with the DRS, looking to actually make the overtake. Around the outside, and it's done. As simply as that. And now Jericho and Hemi are going to be looking to do the same. To overtake PSC, not letting Noise get away for that much. As Foley moves ahead of Plain Cookie, and Jericho getting pretty close there to PSC. And now Paul getting past Plain Cookie as well, so it seems like the drivers who didn't pit under the safety car aren't having the greatest time right now. As you could say, Jericho isn't having the greatest time either. 30% of DRS, or 30% of ERS in favour of Hemi at the moment, so... And Hemi is right now on the better tyre. Of course, it's unsure if he's going to have to pit yet again. We're going to try to send it to the end, but it's not the best. As PSC slowly pushed away from Noise, it still manages to stay within the DRS, which is going to be crucial to defend from Jericho. However, I wouldn't be so surprised if Jericho manages to get the move done. Have it all the way almost down into the 10, yeah, almost down into 10% ERS. Hemi can see the red flashing light now as there is contact between the Mercedes and the Red Bull, and Hemi goes right next to that, and there's contact there as PSC almost spins, as Hemi is going to go around the outside on Jericho and he's going to make the mistake. So Hemi, having been on the weaker tyres at the start, now up into P3 on those mediums, as we've got Cole getting the first of the 3-second warnings, as that is extinct out, and he must have collided with Cole there, leading to a major collision. That car is pretty close to the track, so I imagine we might see another safety car in a moment. No, everything is fine and no safety car is needed, as we've got Nate looking to overtake Foley. They're going to probably go side by side into turn 12. This is always scary to look at, and no, Nate is going to back out of looking to make the overtake soon. As Hemi out of Noise DRS, which gives Jericho quite a good chance to make the overtake done, but well, we're going to be looking at Nate for the moment. And yeah, Jericho slowly closing up to Hemi, but that is not enough time gained, as we're going to have Nate with way more overspeed, and he's going to overtake Foley. Same thing with Paul, and now Nate's going to have to defend from Paul, and he does manage to do so. As whoa, what happened there? As I'm pretty sure Paul has to catch himself to not spin, but Milos and Foley almost hitting him and leading to him spinning, as we got the two Alfa Romeos next to each other. Somehow no team game here, even though it's 7 laps of difference of the mediums. AN obviously on the faster tyres, but he isn't getting let through. Maybe now the team play will come into play, and it does. As well, we are slowly approaching the halfway point of this race. And we've got, well, Jericho still staying in Hemi's DRS. I'm imagining Bashi and PSC have to come in soon. So it's going to be interesting to see how the strategy evolves throughout this race. Cole having to pit, so I'm assuming that's due to damage with Extinct. And now Jericho almost falling out of DRS, as Hemi is finally broken into Noise DRS. That's going to be interesting to see how long will it take until we will see a proper battle between these three. obviously the gap a little bit too much right now for Hemi to get in there, as now they're pretty much tied on ERS, as Noise is slightly disadvantaged, and Noise is going to have to break into that Bashi DRS if they want a chance at defending from Hemi here. As Paul battles with playing Kokiada on the exit, and in sector 1 it doesn't happen, as there is a spin, and that is AN, I'm assuming, spinning out due to the curbs. Of course the curbs here are also particularly deadly, and yeah, that seems like overheated Reyes, so that is unfortunate for him, as Noise still hasn't managed to break into the DRS of Bashi, and at this point, with the gap only being 6 tenths, he is in danger of losing the position to Hemi. And here we go on the exit, DRS now enabled in Hemi's cars. That is AN spinning again. So we're going to quickly get back into Hemi before we miss the entire battle. And no overtake done yet, still waiting. And now, on the second straight, probably where the move will actually be made. Doesn't. Noise manages to defend. The question is, for how long? I defend. So yeah, now we're exactly halfway through the race, as a little bit of a mistake through these turns here, and the opportunity used by Hemi. So Hemi now up into P2 is going to be chasing down that first position. As I need to get a quick drink there, as my throat is starting to become a little bit sore. But Noise can't get close enough to re-overtake Hemi. But Hemi has a little bit of a snap there, so that's going to be a little bit of time to gain. Obviously can't make an overtake through turn 12 here, and that's, yeah, makes a big difference. As we're going to have to look at Jericho, but Bashi makes a 3-second penalty for track limits. So now the question is, this is pretty much the pit window for the one stop. If you're going medium to hard, but Bashi ain't pitting out. As now, both Noise and Jericho with DRS closing in on Hemi. None of them, however, able to get close enough to try to do an overtake, as Nate pits. I'm assuming over to the mediums, which is going to try to take to the end of the race. As of course pit stops have been starting to happen in the back here. Of course we had... Ooh, what happened there? As I'm slowly looking at the drivers further down, Noise managed to go really wide out of that turn, and Jericho moves ahead of him. Well, Noise is still in the DRS, however, so it's not all lost. It's going to be a lot more difficult now. However, yeah, Jericho also out of the DRS on Hemi, as Hemi now has broken into Bashi's DRS, so either Jericho breaks in a moment, or Hemi might just pull away. Of course, the longer the race takes, the more the shift in advantage we're going to see, because those mediums are going to start to feel worse and worse for Hemi, and that is the chance where Jericho late in the race might be able to overtake. But the most important thing is that until then, you don't lose that much time. You need to lose as little time as possible until then, as Hemi got the DRS. Only 6 tenths already, looking to take the lead of the race with 13 laps to go. And now through these turns yet again on the second straight. Might this be the one where the move happens? Of course, Bashi, he seems to be defending, but not using a lot of his ERS. Probably just waiting for the right opportunity. As well, we've got lapped cars right behind. It's 2 cars of drivers who got kicked out of the session. glitched out and got kicked out and can't race, so that's gonna actually help Bashi. The only problem though, these cars don't really like to follow the blue flags and just wait until you pass them themselves. So Bashi isn't going to be able to get 2 DRSs, only 1 luckily, but Jericho might be able to get some DRS here to help himself close up to Hemi and not be completely out of this battle. It all depends on if he keeps Liquid behind him before the turn or not. He will, as Hemi really close to the rear of Bashi here. This is probably it. This is probably the lap where Bashi gets overtaken. Defended for a long time. And, ooh, they touch. Oh, there's contact there. Don't know why Hemi didn't move. Just decided to wait longer. Well, I'm pretty sure I know why. To get the DRS. Which he has. And now Bashi has nothing to do. Nothing to say. He gets overtaken and... Well, from how long these drivers have been on mediums, I'm starting to realise that this is not medium hards they are going for. These guys are going to be switching to softs at the end. Which could be faster. But it's going to be tight. As now Bashi really close to Jericho. Jericho needs to get this overtake done quickly. So that he can just focus on staying close to Hemi. As that is, I'm pretty sure, AN, yeah, who just had another spin a little bit earlier. And here we go, it's an interesting battle for the win here. As well, I guess if we've got a little bit of downtime soon, we could look at the lap time comparisons. I guess we might be able to catch those out of the lap data. But yeah, Jericho only 3 tenths behind, so going to be looking to make the overtake here. Gap is over 1 second as Bashi goes into the pits. And I would assume it's soft tyres we're going to see here. And it is. So Bashi making the pit stop here. Of course now the gap between Hemi and Jericho, due to that DRS help, only 8 tenths. So let's see, Bashi, PSC, Folly and Plane, all of them pitting on the same lap. And assuming that all of them going onto those softs. Yep. And here we go, so let's take this quick moment now as they're going through Sector 2 to just look at the... Oh, right. Right, I forgot the fact that Hemi has to pit and go over to another set of tyres. I mean, yeah, Hemi can't just go to the end on these. He has to switch over to a set of softs because he has to use at least 2 different tyre compounds throughout the race. So Jericho, I'm pretty sure he knows this and knows that he's got the advantage here because Hemi has to pit. And that's interesting, and I'm pretty sure Bashi also realised that and is going for the undercut here, so it's interesting to see, will Hemi pit early? Staying out. Well, that is certainly interesting. As Bashi got out in P6, so not that many cars to race down, however remember that you need to close up to them in time. Which might be pretty difficult. As well, we've got Jericho closing up to Hemi. I'm pretty sure 12 laps, this is the crossover where hards actually become the faster tyre. And Hemi is going to have to defend for his life here to keep P1. Of course, it won't matter a lot because he has to go over to the softs, otherwise he will be disqualified for not using enough tyre compounds. As with Jericho, I'm assuming not planning any overtake or anything yet. Going to wait, just probably going to wait until there's a clean straight where you can just make the move and race to what seems to be just a guaranteed victory at this point. Noise over 2 seconds back. and his teammate in P4, who currently looking at a podium because, yeah, just can go on the hards to the end. However, we can quickly just gloss over as Bashi is starting to close up to Paul, so there's an overtake coming up over there. However, will Jericho be able to finally get through Hemi? As we've only got 9 laps to go. Not close enough for turn 1, will turn 2 be it? As we're also going to be looking Bashi now on the exit. Bashi is going to overtake Paul and has to race down Milos for the podium. Jericho still can't pass Hemi. So my apologies, I need to get another drink. And half a second of a difference as we're having Nate overtake Bradley, and I'm assuming PSC doing the same in a moment. Of course, those soft runners are now trying to make up as many positions as possible in this final portion of the race. As well, we're just still looking at Jericho and Hemi. That gap is getting smaller and smaller by every lap, and I'm starting to get surprised. I was starting to ask the question, is Hemi actually going to pit? Because, like, this is a pre-season race, it doesn't matter. It's disqualified. Might just go to the end on these mediums and just have this as a stint test, just to see how the mediums, how easy / hard it is to manage those mediums at the end of the race. And I'm imagining the overtake is coming. Yeah, Jericho getting really close now. That gap just being 2 tenths here. Almost pushing Hemi through the corner now. And yep, 2 tenths is the gap. And finally, this might be it. Ooh, Hemi squeezing there quite hard. And this, he manages to still stay ahead. I mean, obviously, getting close to being faster and overtaking someone is 2 different things, so... Especially, I mean, Bahrain, it is pretty easy to overtake. However, just because it's easy doesn't mean that's trivial. You have to put in some work into it. Let's just look at how long Jericho's been trying to overtake Hemi for. As well. Ooh. You can see how Hemi's struggling with the car now. Those tyres are starting to get worn. It's kind of sad that we can't look at the exact tyre wear. Because I've seen this situation before. I've seen mediums at this stage sliding a lot. When someone attempts to push them to the limit with a 1-stop, and you can see... And Hemi finally pushing the trigger, going to the pits. So now with... I mean, that's trying to overcut Bashi, I'm pretty sure. It's going to be interesting to see if it works out. Well, obviously Bashi will still come out ahead. However, the thing is, that's 3 laps of difference on softs, which wear out pretty fast, so Hemi might be able to get back that position at the end. You're just going to have to look at what the gap is and how many cars Hemi has to deal with. And one of them is going to be Paul. So I guess now we've got our driver to look at and to see how high up the grid Hemi can push himself. Obviously then also remembering the penalties, which you don't see a lot here because it's pretty hard to actually get 3 warnings on this track, especially if you know what you're doing and you are in the flow. As Paul here, you can see him struggling. Ooh. So that is Paul resetting the track, which is going to be a penalty for him, but I can understand that is frustrating. I mean, that is just contact. Not sure how the stewards will look at that. And well, now Bashi just 1.5 seconds from vote kick, so we're going to be having to compare the difference in time between Hemi and Bashi, because that one's the important one. Have a 7 seconds, that is a lot, but you also need to count out the 3 seconds, as we have got Walkadinho spinning. Manages to get back in one piece in the same position as earlier, as Folly moves up into P8. As that is Paul pitting due to damage, and PSC just getting as much slipstream as possible, so the soft drive is getting quite high up, and that's going to be Paul retiring. Must be frustrating for that to happen so late in the race. And while only half a second the gap now between Bashi and Vokic, this is of course the battle for the podium, as the other two drivers just appear out of reach, so only the third spot is the one that's possible. Bashi not going to be waiting until the start straight, going to go for the overtake right now. Gets through without problems. And now Mior's going to have to look at another problem, and that is Hemi behind him. Because of course it seems that Bashi is just going to be able to get up into P1 without problems. As my apologies, I just need to make sure one thing. There we go. So yeah, Milos manages to stay in the DRS for a little bit longer. However, Hemi is out for blood at this point. And there comes the false lap of the race, 128. As AN gets a 3-second penalty for track limits. And well, and as Folly attempting to overtake PSC here, because we have a little bit of infighting between the soft drivers, and Folly's through. Question is, can he defend it through the next straight, as PSC of course gets DRS here. Both drivers on minimal ERS, so yeah, Folly manages to stay ahead. And yeah, not a lot else to look at. Of course, Hemi's still just out for blood at this point. Gap only 3 seconds now. Not gonna be not enough time to get close to Noise or Jericho. However, that is enough time to get close to Bashi and steal that podium. Unlikely if it's going to stay due to penalties and such, but it's gonna be interesting. And well, 3 seconds is the gap. As PSC and Foley still fighting for that P6. And it's a noble position to fight for. Of course, this is still the preseason, so it's just nice little bit of fighting. And just practice for the season coming up. As Folly stays ahead still, and as the gap between Hemi and Milo shrinks to 2 seconds now. However, at the same time, the gap between Bashi and Hemi going also up, or Bashi and Milo is going up to 2 seconds, so I don't know how much is changing between these two. Well, if you just take a quick look to compare their lap times, obviously not the best way to show it, but yeah, 29.7, 28.1, so that is about 1.2 seconds gained by Hemi every lap on Bashi, which means that's on pace to overtake Bashi, and of course at this point on pace to just beat him. I mean, he doesn't even have to beat him on track. Currently that 3 second warning, or that 3 second penalty, is enough for Hemi to get up into the podium. Unsure if he will stay there due to the track cutting in qualifying and also that collision with Paul, which is going to have to be looked at. But yeah, 7 tenths at this point. Walkadinho moving out of the way. And here it comes, half a second. Hemi out for blood. Will be already into this corner. Will take a little bit longer to see an overtake. Ooh, yeah, not yet. Actually, is it a switchback? Is it a switchback we're looking at? Yep, it is. As Hemi now through this corner, the fighting through the track, and yeah, we just gotta get a better camera view. But Hemi is through. So the Hemi now up into P4. 3.2 seconds to Bashi, and I'm assuming that gap is going to close down quickly, so it's all but secured that Hemi will finish on track, or will finish up in the podium before any post-race penalties get added. So we can go then look at Foley and PSC, still battling for that P6 position, as PSC managed to re-overtake Foley a little bit earlier. At the same time, we've also got Bradley, who is defending from Claim Cookie, as Foley stays in 7th gear for a long time there, so and has to avoid a collision. Now the dirty air obviously will be affecting him, still closing up to PSC though. But those tyres are not the healthiest at this point. 7 lap softs. It's not the healthiest they can be. As well, I would still love to see how Noise is managing those tyres. 20 lap old mediums. That is coincidentally just as long as another Alpine driver managed them yesterday, but Foley and PSC battling for the DRS here. I don't know who's got it, it's Foley, but Foley almost spins, manages to catch the car. Not gonna get through. And well, the clock's ticking. There's only 2 laps to go. And we just gotta look at Noise and how those tyres are looking. They're not looking good. I mean, I'm hoping we're not going to see a repeat of yesterday, where Alpine and P2 on 21 lap old mediums suffers a puncture, even though I'm hoping not to absolutely jinx this right now, as Wolfdino retires. I would expect you to just spinning out in turn 12. Over here we go, Noise is going to get overtaken by Bashi actually, however, as long as everything goes right as it's supposed to, he will still stay within those 3 seconds. However, I'm just going to continue to be looking back at those tyres as we're still looking. Foley and PSC still battling. There's still so much action happening here on the final lap. As Foley re-overtakes PSC. Now will PSC be able to get back the position with DRS here going to the second straight, as Hemi breaks into the DRS of Noise Job, as Hemi has spun. Hemi manages to spin in sector 2, so that's was looking to fight for podium, but it's not going to happen anymore. So PSC re-overtakes Foley. Foley almost spinning. Those softs are not feeling good, but still manages to survive on those, and it seems as though Foley is going to have to accept that P7, and Hemi is going to have to accept P5. So Milos manages to get up into P4, but here we go, rounding the final corner. Jericho led the race in terms of strategy and is going to come through to win the pre-season race, as Bashi is going to be finishing close in P2 there, staying for a moment as Noise finishes in P2. On track is Hemi! I am going to... yeah, we're going to have to see that later. I don't know, was that a collision or not? And who's going to get to the light in time? It is going to be Hemi, who just spins again. So there's Hemi in P4, and Milos in P5, PSC and Foley finishing right behind, as Hemi just got sent down. 20 seconds for going, yeah, that's just a post-race penalty that usually happens. However, that might be the penalty that he gets in the end. And Noise, well done. 22 laps on those mediums. The guy literally survived longer on his set of mediums than I did, and I got a puncture and he just stays safe. Well done. Uh, so PSC driver of the day, of course. Can't exactly remember the starting position, but that was, of course, outside the top 10 as we see Jericho, who's won this race. Then Noise in P2, and finally Bashi in P3. Yeah. I mean, this kind of shows what kind of strategies and what kind of race we're going to be seeing next week. As of course, next week at the exact same time, got the exact same track, exact same time, just in a week. The start of CCR Season 2. As of course, let's go through the grid one final time. So Jericho in P1, Noisjaw P2, only an 8-second gap. Then Bashi in P3, Milos P4, PSC P5, Foley P6, Nate P7. Hemi put all the way down in P8, but I'm assuming he actually gets put right around that 4th, 5th position because of that late 20-second penalty. They've got Michael Nightstar finishing out the points. Bradley missing out on them by just 3/10. And of course, I'm not able to show anything else because I lobby ends so early, but that is everything for today. So I hope you enjoyed this stream, and see you next time.